How many capital letters do we have? 1, 2, 3. So my bell's going off. It's saying ding, ding, ding. Don't just use the periodic table. Use the chart of polyatomic ions. So I'm going to look at my chart of polyatomic ions and see if any of these things are on there. And I do. I look and I see that MnO4 is on there. And when I see MnO4, I see that it's called manganate. And I'm also going to look on my periodic table and see K and see that it's potassium. So I'm going to name it just like I did before. I'm going to write potassium manganate. And potassium, if I look on the periodic table, is POT. And I'm going to abbreviate it just because I'm so bad at writing on this. That's POTTAS. So I know it's potassium. I'm just going to write the full name out, and then I'm going to copy this name right off my polyatomic ion chart, and it's manganate. MANGANATE. So that's how I name ionic compounds. Not too difficult. The next thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go the other way. We're going to give you the name, and we're going to ask you, hey, can you write the formula? And it's very similar to the way we just did it. You look at the two different parts. I have magnesium and I have bromide. Now remember, bromide has changed its last name. So it's really bromine. So INE off my chart of the periodic table. So I look and I say, hey, magnesium, where is it located on the periodic table? It's located in group 2. So I'm going to write the number 2 over magnesium. Then I say bromine. Where is bromine located? It's located in group 7. And because it's in group 7, I know that it needs to get to 8. So I'm going to write the number 1 above bromine. Because remember, I want to get to 8. It's going to want to get 1 electron, and magnesium's going to want to give away 2 electrons. So then I'm just going to write the symbols for both of these. Magnesium is Mg, and bromine is Br. But I'm not quite done yet. There's BR. Remember, I wrote these numbers up here. And the reason I wrote these numbers is because I'm going to bring them down and across. The 1's going to go with the magnesium, and the 2's going to go with the bromine. So I'm going to have Mg, bring the 1 down, 1, Br, 2. There we go. I just named it. Mg, Br2. Now, let's try to do the next one. Lithium acetate. So I look at my periodic table, I say lithium. Where is that? Oh, it's in group 1. So I'm going to write the number 1 above lithium. And then I look and I say acetate. Does acetate sound like something off my periodic table? No, it really doesn't. And it ends in 8. I haven't seen that on the periodic table before. So I'm going to say, maybe I should check my polyatomic ion chart. So I'm going to go to my polyatomic ion. I'm going to look, look, acetate is on my chart of polyatomic ions. And it has a charge of -1. It's on the chart. So I'm just going to write a 1 above the acetate. So I'm going to write the symbols for lithium. Lithium is Li. And acetate copied right off my chart. And I like to keep my polyatomic ions in parentheses. So I'm going to put parentheses around the acetate. And acetate is C2, there's C2, H3, and then O2. I'm going to close my parentheses because my polyatomic ions like to stay in. I'm going to bring my numbers down and across. This one's going to come over here to the acetate. This one's going to come over here to the lithium. And so I'm going to label it Li1, C2H3O2, and I'm going to put my 1 outside the parentheses because I have 1 acetate. You don't really have to write the 1s, but it doesn't hurt to do it. Let's try to do one more. Ammonium chloride. Oh, I see the IDE ending, so maybe it's changed its name from INE. It's our Princess Chlorine again. And ammonium. Have I seen that on the periodic table? I don't think so. So I'm going to check my chart of polyatomic ions. Ammonium is on there, and it has a +1 charge. And I know that Princess Chlorine has 7 valence electrons. She's in group 7, She wants to get 1 electron. So I'm going to write a 1 above her name too. So then I'm going to say, all right, well, let's just name them. Ammonium. That's NH4. I'm going to copy it right off my chart of polyatomic ions. NH4. And remember, I like to keep my polyatomic ions in parentheses. So I'm going to draw my parentheses. And then I have Princess Chlorine. I know her symbol. It's Cl. I'm going to write Cl. That's not a very good C. That's a little better. And I'm going to bring my numbers down and across. The one's going to come down over here and go to the chlorine. This one's going to come down and over here to the ammonium. So I'm going to put a 1 right here outside my parentheses. And I'm going to put a 1 right here outside my chlorine. And then there I go. I've named it. NH4, 1, since I have one of them, and Cl1. That's how I'm going to name ionic compounds. And if you go through that system, whenever you have a metal and a nonmetal to name the ionic compounds, you're going to be in great shape. Let's go on and talk some more about covalent compounds. Covalent compounds are super easy to name because you're going to use the back of your polyatomic ion chart, only you're going to use the section that says prefixes. And these are so easy to name. I'm just going to look at what I have. I have P, oops, sorry about that. I have P and I have O. And I know P is phosphorus, so I'm going to write phosphorus, P, H, and this is going to take me a minute. Actually, I'm probably just going to abbreviate this because otherwise it'll take too long. Phosphorus, and I know I have O, oxygen, and I'll write oxygen. So I know my two elements. They're easy to name. I can just get that right off the periodic table. And then I use my prefixes. And I have 2 phosphoruses, so I'm going to look at my prefix. What prefix means 2? It's di, so I'm just going to add my prefix in the front. So I'm going to have diphosphorus, and then I'm going to see this 6 here, so I'm going to say, what prefix means 6? Hexa, so I'm going to put my prefix right here in front of the oxygen, Hexa, and just like I did before, I'm going to change the ending. Cross out the last name and put I, D, E, and oxygen is a little funny, it crossed out the Y too. And so I'm going to have diphosphorus hexaoxide. Fairly easy to name these. If you can look in the periodic table and figure out what the elements are and use the prefixes. So next, let's look at my next one. I have N and Br3. So I know I have nitrogen, so I just might as well write the name. And I also have Br, which is bromine. So I'm going to write bromine, nitrogen, and since I know these are covalent, because I have 2 things both from the right-hand side of the periodic table, I'm going to write bromine, I'm going to be using my prefixes. Sorry, it's taking me a minute to write. I need to figure out a better solution to this. So I have nitrogen and bromine. Now I'm going to go look at my prefixes. And I'm going to say, nitrogen, I don't have a number there, so I'm just going to assume it's 1. My prefix for 1 is mono, but I'm never going to start naming something with the word mono. So I'm just not going to put any prefix at the front of nitrogen since there's only 1. And I have 3 bromines, so I'm going to add in my prefix tetra. Because tetra means 3. So the way I name that compound is nitrogen tetra. Ooh, I messed up. It's not tetra. I don't know what I was thinking. Not tetra. Tetra means 4. I need to pick tri. Nitrogen tribromide. Because tri means 3. I looked wrong on my chart. I don't know what I was thinking. So I have nitrogen tribromine. Can't keep the ending. Got to change it to IDE. They like to change their last names. So remember, don't start with mono. Put your prefixes, change the ending to "ide." Let's try the next one. I have 2 elements. I have carbon and hydrogen. So let's name the carbon first. I'm just going to write carbon. I'm sorry, it takes me a minute to write. Carbon, B-O-N. I'm going to skip a little space because I know I've got a covalent compound, C and H, both nonmetals, and I'm going to write hydrogen, H, Y, D, R, O, G, E. Now I'm going to go check my prefixes. 3 carbons. Since it's not mono, I'm going to definitely put my prefix first, which is tri. I'm going to get it right this time. Tricarbon. And I have 8 hydrogens. So when I look at my prefixes, I see that 8 is octa. So I'm going to put octa right here. O, C, T, A. And I'm not quite done because remember I've got to change the last name so it's not hydrogen, it's going to become hydride. Exactly right. I'm going to use the I, D, E. So that's naming covalent compounds. Now let's go the other way. Let's start